Hi Team Lovelady. I'm here this morning with Rick Beaudry, my fiance, and we're just going to chat a little bit about my story and how we came here today and just how we've grown as a team and how we're going to grow even bigger as a team. And I think it's just important to just get back to the roots of our business, and I'm better with my partner. And you're only as good as the people that you surround yourself with. So thanks for being here.
No problem. So 2012, is that when you got started?
That's when we started.
So from 2012 till now, from 0 to 11,000 agents, from the roots in consultants. Thanks for correcting me. 11,000 consultants from a town of 40,000 people in Ontario.
Yeah, 35 at the time.
35,000 at the time, which is pretty incredible when you think about it. So can you tell us a little bit about that decision to come and start and what it was like to get started as the only one in Canada?
Yes, so it actually wasn't my decision at first. I never even thought of being in direct sales. I always supported direct sales. So a lot of you don't know, but I worked for the corporate office at 31. And I was their creative director and worked on their catalogs that you look through today, their just all of their marketing. And like anyone in the corporate world, I didn't have any time for my family. I didn't have time for myself. I was just working 7 in the morning till 7 at night just to get it done. I was that mom that brought her children, was the very first one in line to drop off her kids, and the last one to pick them up. So I knew I needed to change, and you know, in this life you can't keep doing the same thing expecting different results. So I approached Cindy Monroe and told her my dilemma and risked actually losing my job for it. And I told her that I loved my job, and that was the problem, that I loved my job, but I was pouring all myself into it. And just asked her for advice, really. It wasn't, I didn't know what I was doing. I knew I had to make a change, and asked for her advice, and she came back with, well, why don't you work from home? I had a team of about 20 designers at the time, and I made the decision to work from home, and she said, but work on your why too, which eye roll, like, I wasn't a goal setter. I wasn't the one making all the vision boards and doing all that, but she forced me to get uncomfortable, and we all know that's when things start to happen. And I work from home, managing my family, getting dinner on the table when they, you know, picking them up from the bus stop, and actually being a parent that was engaged at the school as much as I wanted to be. And I loved it. I loved just being home and being with them, and raising my boys instead of a daycare raising my boys, and managing my team virtually. So it was actually secretly setting me up for how I manage my team now. And I miss just people, being around adults. I miss that a lot, but I did love the time. And as everyone knows, a child spells love, Time. So I was able to do that. And then after a month or so, Cindy and I came back together, and she's like, all right, what did you discover? And I told her what I discovered, that I love my family, that I missed just being around 31. Their mission is amazing, to celebrate, encourage, and reward people for who they are and what they do. And I miss that a lot, because working on your own, you know, your voices in your head are pretty powerful. And she just said, well, I'm glad that you discovered that, like, what's your why? And I just said, to be a mom, because I know how fortunate I was to be a mom and what a blessing it is to have children, and that I still wanted to work and financially provide, and whether it be for my family or the community, I wanted to do something. And she just said, well, we've been working on we're leading up to our 10-year anniversary with 31, and she said, you've been a big part of that. And we want to break down the borders and offer this opportunity to women in Canada. and we want you to be the person that does it. So jaw hits the floor, and I didn't know what I was getting into, but I heard so many stories of these women and how it was changing their lives, and just I was one of the ones that was believing the stigma around direct sales and that it was all a pyramid scheme, and but all that just washed away because I saw Cindy working day and night and supporting women both in the field and in the corporate world. I remember Cindy babysitting my children, a woman in her, in her seat, a CEO of a company, and knowing that I needed her help with my kids, and she babysat my children just so I could Christmas shop for them. So
great, excellent.
Yeah, so family is everything, and she supports that, and so I will do that. And my whole mission was that women could feel the way I felt and be able to manage their families and impact their communities and make some real money while they're doing it.
Very good. So that's the why in terms of how 2012 happened.
Yeah.
So now you're sitting in your new home in St. Thomas. Actually, I think you were with your parents for a bit. Moving back to St. Thomas from the U.S., and you get up in the morning, and what do you do to get started? How do you get this business going?
Well, you get your kids out of the house first. I couldn't have done this without my parents either. Surrounding yourself with really good people that want the best for you and that lift you up constantly. You can't do this business by yourself, I'll promise you that. You need the support of a good partner or family, whatever that looks like for you. Surround yourself with them. And it took me stepping back from myself to discover myself again. And I needed to do that through before I could even start this. And I got to start with 16 amazing women. I got to offer it to my family and friends, which all of you should be doing right off the get-go. You want to work with people that want the best for you, right, and that won't quit on you when things get hard or make excuses right off the hop. So I had 16 powerful women that are in leadership roles today that I admire, that set the bar very, very high for me, and being vulnerable, like working with them, but understanding that you don't have all the answers, but really it's just see the pink box, sell this pink box. Right. We talked about that. There's no secret potion. There's nothing magical about this. It's a no-risk opportunity to sell amazing products and make 25%
right,
of whatever you're selling. So I looked at that box. I just wanted to share it. I wanted to share the love, and it was just writing down how many names I could possibly write down. I actually turned away from technology when I started. I just got down to the basic pen and paper and just was writing down names because, I knew a lot of people, but I was away for 11 years. I lived in the States for 11 years, and coming back to a community of only 35,000, you're slim pickings, especially when you've offered the opportunity to all your family and friends. So it was getting uncomfortable. It really was. It was driving long distance, driving to Sarnia, to Windsor, all these places, but just trying to tap into every network I possibly could.
Right.
And at the same time, managing, my family. So I loved it though, because it was up to me. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that it was up to me to, really buckle down. No one was going to tell me to do it. And I knew the potential because I got to see it from the background. And it was really just writing down names: coaches, teachers, coworkers, friends, family.
So can I ask you a question on that?
Yeah.
So for a new consultant or somebody that's considering this, or even people that are in the business now that maybe even be fairly new or could have been around for a while. So there's two things there, right, that you talk about. One is you've built a great team of 16 amazing people that have actually built themselves great teams, right?
Yeah.
But then there's also strategy around the sales part, right? So your own selling, right? There's the recruiting and the selling. So Maybe we'll just go first with the recruiting part in terms of those 16 people. Talk about, what was it again specifically about those 16 people? And there might be some differences of their characteristics and their personalities, but there must be something similar about them. Why they're so successful. Can you think about what it is about those 16 people that you think would be critical for new consultants to look at when they're recruiting for their team? Like, what would be the types of things, the types of people you're looking for?
I would say similar traits where they wanted a change,
Right.
From their current situation, whether it be, Nadine Williams, she was a police officer raising 4 small children. Well, 3 at the time. She was pregnant when she started. So she knew she didn't want to do shift work, right? She wanted to be a mom at home. So I think all of us wanted more time with our families. That was a similar trait. They all were connected somehow, whether it be through the community or through school, whatever it was, they were connected. So that's a huge similarity. And we are all from the same hometown, which is crazy if you
Right.
really think about it. Now, there was a few people that weren't, but they were connected to that city
Right.
somehow, and it wasn't only through me. And I asked a lot of people and was told no.
Right.
So those weren't the original 16 I asked. And some of them were brought to me by good friends. My best friend Rosalind Ayres connected Nadine Williams and I. I offered Lindsay O'Connor's sister the opportunity and she passed it down. So I think it's just never closing the door because that person says no. It's just, no, not right now, or no, I'll pay it forward and share it with someone else. No looks like so many different things, and believe me, I've been told it so many times.
Right.
But yeah, my 16 weren't my original 16. I had no strategy. My only strategy was that I wanted my friends and family to make the income that these girls were making in the US.
Right.
I wanted them to have an impact on our community. I wanted them to give back to a community that raised both of us.
Right.
And we love St. Thomas. It's an amazing city, and it was so much beyond myself.
Right.
It was more that I wanted these women to just experience what it was like to have flexibility, to be an entrepreneur, and just share a product that it's an amazing product, right? That just fits into a lot of women's lifestyles and their families.
Right.
And a lot of them were moms.
Right. So the 16 of them, I mean, obviously, because I've met them all, I would say they're very different in a lot of ways. So it's not that you can necessarily pigeonhole, but I think it is like what you said, that a lot of them were looking for initially to supplement their income because they had professions in a lot of cases, right? But they all had the potential to, once it took off, to really embrace this as a full-time opportunity. So it's not that there's necessarily a perfect profile for that new recruit, but it's definitely somebody that is passionate about the product first and foremost. Right? They want it, they want to wear it, they want to show it off, they're proud of it, they're not pushing a direct sale message that they don't believe in.
Exactly.
I think that's a big part of it. Right.
Hands down. You have to love what you're selling. If you don't love what you're selling, you're not going to attract the right people. You're not going to get the sales. You're not, going to get those parties booked. And it is the product. Actually, there's a product right there.
Right. So yeah, and because I think that's what it is for a lot of them. It wasn't coming in and selling something and feeling like getting out of bed and doing it was a chore. It was actually enjoyable to be socializing with their network of people and showing off a product that they were very proud of.
Yeah, they loved being their own personal billboard. They loved wearing their product, because wearing the product is something that sets us apart, that you can wear this product out and about. It creates conversations, like we're our own kind of sorority with our products. And when people see it, it shows, it brings, it just attracts the right women to your business if you're wearing the product. If you're not, then you're not going to be selling it.
Absolutely. So there's your top 16, which are obviously now from the beginnings doing very, very well. And I think the one
thing... But not all of them.
Right. And I think the one thing that we've talked about before is that in terms of the evolution now, so there was those top 16 or whoever those originals were from an area that's very much a small area in terms of the entire population of the country. This opportunity now for 31 in Canada is enormous because it's still in infant stages across the country.
Yeah.
And I think that's exciting for a lot of people. When it comes to a new consultant who might not think about this or even be thinking today about it being a full-time job, but that it always just, they want it as supplemental income. Maybe talk a little bit about that, why that is still okay. I mean, it doesn't mean you don't have to be the person that's going to set the world on fire and build a team of 11,000 people or anything like that, and that's still okay. So maybe talk about some of those people without naming names, but who are really happy with what this means in terms of part-time income and what that also does for their family by having that supplemental income.
Well, I think we've just evolved into this online world that it fits into our lifestyle. You can do this business online. We are a gig economy that everyone is wanting supplement income. This supplement income you actually can make just in your pajamas at home online with a couple friends. So if you have a great network or want to be part of a great network, this company is great for that. And you can work it as little or as much as you want. But I think we're just, as women, we need women. We need to be surrounded with them, whether it's a wine club, a book club, whatever that looks like. So if there's things already going into your, or like that are going on in your life that you can introduce 31 in those groups, it's a great opportunity that way. It's just fitting this product into your lifestyle. If you're going to and from work, wear your product. You know, it's going to create conversation. It's going to get some sales generated at work. So really it is up to you. And I have a lot of leaders that do this as supplement income. They have a team, they're making good money, and they work full time and have children at home. So I think it's just establishing right off the get-go what your why is or what you want out of this business and putting a dollar amount beside it. Or maybe it's a product amount that you want all this product, or you just want to. Some people just do this business to be able to give back. We never have enough money in the bank at the end of the month that, you know, tithing doesn't happen, right? So some women just do this just to give back to our communities.
Right.
And whether that looks like they do the chemo bags at the different hospitals, we volunteer our time at Ronald McDonald House. 31 is just a vessel that allows us to be able to do things that we couldn't do in our regular jobs.
Right.
So and you're connected with women that want you to be successful,
right,
and want to be something more. So it's just you can work it as little or as much as you want, and really looking at it right from the get-go, you're making 25% of whatever you sell.
Right.
And our product is at a great price point that, you know, it's some good money,
right,
if you're putting the time in.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just 4 or 5 women that you're sharing it with, and there's your paycheck.
Right, and I know there's some great stories because of getting involved in more of the conferences over the last few years. And again, I knew nothing about this business. Actually, Jen
You
and
do
I,
now.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't talk about business for maybe the first 6 months of our relationship, which I thought was really cool. And then when I found out, it was whoa. But the interesting thing was there are, again, there's many women who are doing this for different reasons, and they've got into it for different reasons, which I think is cool too. And the ones that are typically the most successful, as you mentioned, are the ones where their spouses don't minimize it. And the way I started looking at it, and we've had this conversation, is it is an interesting opportunity for women, A, to be an entrepreneur, and to really think of it as starting their own business at a very low cost. And they have the potential, like you have, to build a business, so to make this into something bigger than it was when you started. Or they can stay small, but it's up to you how big you want to grow your business. But we talked about comparing it to a franchisor, like buying into a Tim Hortons or buying into a Mr. Sub or something like that, because you want to be an entrepreneur. And the risks and the costs associated with it, and what we know by industry stats on what the potential income is of that one store of a franchise owner.
It's crazy.
And the reality is at 31, that income potential, from what I found out, which I didn't know, is enormous from that perspective. And if you compare that of having to run an operation, having to have rent, of having to order supplies, of having to manage a lot of labor and all those distractions to make whatever the end result of profit is in that franchise, I mean, we've talked about that. I mean, it's a pretty
Yeah.
great opportunity for women to really be an entrepreneur and not have to worry about a lot of those things, but still have the same income potential.
Yeah, you wear your product, you get the box, the pink box, pretty pink box in the mail, and you have no overhead costs, you have no store, nothing, right? So you are just wearing your product.
Right.
And you can bring your product anywhere. You know,
Right.
you're not stuck just in your house, you're not stuck in a store, you're not stuck wherever. Like,
You are your own retail store.
you are your own retail store, and if you look at it because I feel like a lot of the hesitation too is like saturation, or, you know, I've seen that product before. Well, we see Tim Hortons cups everywhere. It's what's going to set you apart from your business, you know, or from other businesses, from other girls selling 31, or from a Tim Hortons down the road. You know, they're literally on every
Right.
block. You know, what
Yep.
sets you apart from the others? So it's just a matter of how you're running your business, and you have no employees to worry about,
Right.
no people to worry about except for your team who you're loving on, and it's just fun because you attracted them for a reason
Right.
on your team, and just enjoying all the products and sharing them and earning them.
Absolutely, and there's no question that based on when you started, even in 2012, I mean, with the tools that you had, which were fairly minimal compared to what the new consultants have today, the advantages now are significantly more, and there's definitely nowhere close to a saturation of the market. There's so many people who still never heard of 31, yet there's no question that the product sells and that women are wearing it. So you are representing a great product. So like you said, it really is just retailing it and showing it off.
Yes.
And that's really where the opportunity lies, right? And,
Yeah.
and we've talked about, Jen referred to see pink box, sell pink box, and we think that's a great thing because I think you can talk about it as well as part of this new initiative with yourself and Amy, is working on making it even that much easier to get started and get momentum for a new consultant,
Yeah.
right? And I think maybe some of the things that you might want to talk about there. I mean, what are, again, getting back to what are just the simple things, forgetting about even recruiting if it's just the selling, what are the things that are just simple strategies or tactics when you get out of the bed in the morning and say, this is what I'm going to do this month from a sales party, online networking? Are there just some simple things you can think of, like just go do this?
Yeah, definitely. So it is that see box, sell box, right? And I think, like you said in the beginning, we didn't have a lot of tools, but sometimes we can overcomplicate things with too many tools and a lot of distractions like Facebook and all the social media. We are embracing that part of our business because it does help us. It's free advertising, but I think we have to get back to the basics where it's just open up your living room, open up your box and share it. And that's how I shared it. We were in the living room of my home, and actually the very first meeting was at a restaurant downtown St. Thomas. We asked for the back room. It was so loud, was not professional at all, but we all had the same pink box and we all started from the same box. And it was just reaching out to our networks. And it wasn't really a lot of online business going on. It's a great tool, but for onboarding, we want to get back to the basics and just fall in love with the product first. When you open up that box, you want to be able to wear it. Have your own launch party with your closest friends and family. And they may not be, my family is the worst. They don't buy from me, actually. I love them, but they're not my top buyers. But they connected me with a community that has really grown my business. And I started it in St. Thomas and I'm now here in Burlington. And just getting involved in your community and giving back, because sometimes you have to invest or give of your business to make it happen. And I think you have to be willing to give it your all because it really doesn't cost a lot to grow your 31 business.
Right.
And then you're going to hit a lot of obstacles. Not every person I asked wanted the product. They didn't understand it. I remember doing a trade show in the bottom of a basement, and it was like the worst event, but it was going towards a good cause, towards a mission trip. And this one lady walked by my table and she's like, "Oh, those are cute doggy bags." So like I've heard it all as far as our product goes. And but I didn't sell anything at that trade show, but I connected with another lady who had one of my biggest first parties, didn't know her from Adam, and her party brought me all the way from that November to like April or May.
Right.
So it's just being willing to, you know, be the person that people are attracted to,
right?
Right? Whether it be with your product, don't just have it slumped on a table, like
right.
market it, right? You have to merchandise the products.
And there's some great people in the company where they've done an amazing job at themselves being the brand for the ambassador for the brand, and kind of, like you said, how they show the product, how it shows in their house, how they use it in their house when people come over, how they wear the product when they go out. And that there's examples that you could obviously, for a new consultant, you'd be able to send that out to show people exactly how the best people are showcasing their product themselves as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Right?
And now that I have a great team, it'll be me sometimes. But Janet Kincaid is amazing. She has a great, follow her on Facebook, on Instagram. She has the fashionista of 31. So everything she shows, people fall in love with. I know Amy says she had a girl crush on her. So I think we all have a small girl crush on Janet Kincaid.
Right.
And Cindy Monroe, right?
Right.
She's known this product for 15 years and she wears it well. And the product tells a great story. And I think by using it, I was telling stories and not realizing it, like bridging, you know, the gap between my customers and myself through my stories with my kids, with my family, how I'm gifting it, what I have going on in my life. But it is the product tells a story.
You mentioned a bunch of things so far today that were interesting from a standpoint of networking and introducing the product to a lot of people and so on. But I met some interesting people who came to you and said, I'm not a salesperson. And they were afraid that this is about getting out. And it does take a lot of guts to get out there and start introducing and taking no. I mean, people who are seasoned salespeople don't like to hear no. The interesting thing when I heard from a couple people, and again, I won't name them because we haven't asked for permission, but they were complete not salespeople. But what they were is genuinely good people who loved the product and who just tried showcasing it and wearing it, and all of a sudden they've built themselves a phenomenal business. And again, without saying that, so I think I just wanted to, from my perspective and hearing the stories and talking to people, I also thought that's an important message for women out there, that you don't have to come into this and be a salesperson. No. You just have to, like you said, it's genuine reasons why you're doing this. You're genuine, you love the product, and you know people, and good things happen.
Yeah.
Right? Would you agree?
Yeah, definitely. I am not a salesperson at all, and was not expecting to even be here today. But I went into it just, I think it's all your attitude and just being excited about the product, being excited about a company that supported me and my family for so long, and wanting to share it. Like when something's so good, you just want to share it. And if you have that feeling about the product, you're just sharing what you already love. So it comes natural, and just, you know, the people will just come when they see how in love you are with the product. And it is taking risks. Like, it's taking huge risks, and, you know, just being okay with rejection. I always refer my team to that 100 Ways to Be Rejected, that YouTube video, because it's so good to just be prepared for that, because whether it's in 31 or anything in your life, you are going to be rejected. Right? And I think that's just getting over that and not taking it personal, and looking at it from just, I've know so many people just because of getting out of my comfort zone. I mean, we're using this office today, Sarah Logue's office, and she's just a friend that I met through 31 and through being in our neighborhood. Like, we don't even know our neighbors anymore. Right? And 31 breaks down those barriers to get to know your neighbors, get to know your community, and just by wearing a product that we already love. Right.
And again, I will say that I've seen it. I mean, again, because I wasn't aware of it prior to meeting Jen, I would say that what I was surprised with is we've had some interesting get-togethers at our house where the women are having a great time, and it's a great reason for them to get together. And then we've had situations where now, which again through other series of videos we'll talk about, but things in the corporate sector. So all of a sudden now it's the home parties, but it's also professionalizing that delivery through corporate sales and high volume sales through interesting corporate contacts and contacts in the real estate agency and so on. So there's so many ways to to be your own retailer.
Yeah.
And it isn't just about the home parties. It's not just about sitting in your pajamas online. It's not also having to go and sell corporately, but recognizing that that's an untapped market. So there's so much, and it starts with the fact that if you love the product and you don't feel like you're pushing, I don't mean to knock anything else, but you're not pushing pills or pushing something else that's in the multi-level realm, this really is a feel-good environment for the product, as well as from what I'm seeing about how women do really love getting together, talking, sharing their life stories, and selling a product. I mean, it's a pretty interesting way to live your life. And as you mentioned, the things that I also see is how much giving goes back into communities from 31, right? And I think we haven't talked about that, but I maybe talk a little bit about that quickly about, you know, the women and their focus on give back. Because I think it's pretty cool.
It's amazing. When you get a bunch of women together, it's amazing what happens. And we have 31 Gives. It's our philanthropy piece of 31. And we're connected with so many different organizations like Girls on the Run, Ronald McDonald House, so many different.
You were just recently in New York City?
Yeah, New York City. We're with World Vision. And then, of course, we're at the Children's Hospital, McMaster Children's Hospital, part of the mental health unit. And we're a big part of that.
So you talked about some of the giving initiatives, and whether, like you mentioned to me, I've been involved in some of the things with the mental health. I've seen what you guys have done with World Vision. I've seen what you've done also just personally yourself, which I'm sure many other women have their own initiatives that they're working on. And it is, when I've talked to some of the other women in terms of doing my own exploration on the business to start understanding it more, because I'm a little bit more involved now, is everyone has their own why, but there is a piece of this which is supplemental income allows for more giving, which allows for more fulfilled life, right? And so you're having fun with what you're doing, and you now have some supplemental income to do something with in your community. And obviously the business side of it is by being able to give back to your community, it just adds to your brand.
Yeah, well, we were made to give.
100%.
We were created to give, and sometimes people make it hard to give, or people don't know the right places to go to give. 31 gives that all to you, and it's just amazing because we have all these organizations that we're connected with that all we have to do is sell a bag, get women together, and we're giving back. Whether it be your team working at Ronald McDonald's, in the kitchen, the Ronald McDonald House, or going to the hospitals, bringing the chemo bags, whatever that looks like for you or for your team, 31 allows us to do that and gives us some extra income to give back. And it may not even be a partnership that we have with 31, with you and your team. I was able to give back to your team last year with the Big Brothers. So, just what you're doing with the community and being able to piggyback on that is amazing. Just having extra income to do that feels so good. And, you can have all the money in the world, but it's not as rewarding as when you're able to give your time or your finances to someone in need.
And yeah, so I would say from a standpoint, again, of the risk getting into this, it's zero. And the reward is pretty enormous, or it could be just small enough that it's helping you. It doesn't have to be that you want to be one of your top 16. It could be that you want to just always have just an interesting part-time income. And the reality is, I think for some of them, some of the people that get in new, it might start out as a part-time income, and you realize that through just some positive momentum, it just grows beyond anything that you would have thought anyway, because the product does sell and the relationships do sell. So I think that's important for people to realize that in that first year, those new consultants, you don't have to be trying to be top 16, but you can recognize the fact that if you just see box, sell box, see box, wear box, that good things will happen, right? And I wouldn't have believed it till I understood it more, because I didn't know anything about it. But when I watch it happen, and I watch the women get together, and I watch people react to the product, it is genuine to say that, for the most part, it just sells itself if it's been introduced to people. I mean, that's just the reality, right?
Yeah, and so many women helping each other. I mean, that's why we're successful. They're not trying to climb over you to get to the top. They're actually really trying to help you get what you can out of this company.
Yeah, I don't actually see any kind of competitive holding back, not sharing. It seems like everybody really feels like they're not necessarily competing with each other.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing. I see a lot of sharing.
It is amazing. Yeah, we're sharing everything that's working and not working, and the bloopers, it all, right? So we're real. We're just, everyone is just trying to make it, but we're supporting each other while we do it.
Perfect. So we're going to do a few more of these series of discussions and interviews over the months, days, years, and some of them will involve Amy and Jen, and some of them will involve me, and some of them will involve some people on the team, and who knows. But what we'd like, I think, is to get people's feedback and any other content or videos that or questions you'd like to see on live video. Jen and Amy would definitely will categorize that and catalog that and get some sessions set up, because I think this is a good way to get to people and get education to people. And I think, again, one of the other things that we talked about is just making sure as a new consultant that you're not overwhelmed by going on a website, feeling that there is an overwhelming amount of things to do to get set up. I think it is just a see box, sell box.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's definitely our onboarding we're definitely working on, and that's something as a team. So any feedback you have about our onboarding process and 31 Today, yeah, we want to make it simple, easy, fun, and just get back to the basics of our business again. And that's how we grew. And we're going to continue to grow and share this with as many women as we possibly can.
Perfect. And as per the flexibility of the day that Jen talked about, we have 4 kids to go pick up in the next few hours. So we're done today. Thank you.